Welcome back to Worlds 2022 in the final game of the day. It's going to be a certified banger between LPL's JD Gaming and the LCKs at DWG KIA. The LCK Titans put on a clinic yesterday versus G2, and Vedius right here, he wanted to take a look at their early game in Neighborhood Tactics presented by State Farm. Vedius, take it away.
So I wanted to talk about how DWG approached this game, and already in this early game, you're going to notice how Kellin gains control of this brush in order to force the flash out onto the bot lane of G2. The whole game plan here from level 1 is to force out as many summoners from this G2 bot lane in order to create this sense of pressure to make this Caitlyn Lux difficult to lane. Then comes the pathing. Canyon pathing towards the bot side of the map to both cover and look for gank opportunities. He was kind of dismayed by the fact that, okay, Jankos is spotting me out, but then he sees this as an opportunity, and what you're going to see him do is actually recognize I went out in this 1v1, and then with this information and with this opportunity that Kellin is going to use to go in onto the bot lane, they're going to create some pressure on the map. And you're going to notice on the minimap as well, Canyon is going to use the Fog of War to move over the wall and kind of leverage this darkness to not be spotted as he attacks the bot lane. But all of this is in mind of we need to shut down this single win condition of G2 and attack them as much as possible. A little bit of time goes by, but in this window, they find the gank. And yes, this trade ends up only being a 1-for-1, but it doesn't matter because the damage is done. The summoners are burnt, and now G2's primary win condition is much harder. So, okay, this is the first step of DWG's master plan. How do they then translate this onto the rest of the map? And this is where you start to see the coordination come in from Canyon, ShowMaker, and Kellin. And this is really where it starts. Here, they need to push out this mid-wave to give ShowMaker the opportunity to reset and go back to base. But if you have a quick look at the minimap, you'll realize that Caps is only just now coming back into lane. So there's this window with which Canyon can use this pressure in mid lane, along with the pressure that they have in top lane to invade in the enemy jungle and get information on where Jankos is. So even though he's not going to spot any blue buff out, he knows that the blue buff is going to be spawning soon. He spots out where Jankos is, and that's enough information to disengage. Everyone resets, and all of a sudden, the plan then comes back into motion. Canyon's going to go back through his jungle, clear out that. The bot lane is going to get pushed in, and once again, Kellin is on the move. And you can see it's very reminiscent of what made DWG so successful back in 2022. This constant coordination between support, mid, and jungle. The way in which they constantly control the vision, limit the options of their opposition, and in this window, they use that opportunity to attack Caps. They brought that pressure from bot into mid, which they then translate into a blue buff steal. And all of this game plan comes from the fact that G2 had a narrow win condition. DWG recognized that. And what did they do? They limit and suffocate G2's early game options to prevent them from really doing anything. G2, Jankos said it in the interview earlier in the day, which is that, like, we felt we were straight up outplayed in the first 8 minutes. And you see on your screen what he was talking about. It was phenomenal early game dominance from DWG across the board.
I mean, Canyon, to see him playing at the top level, I mean, or to see him kind of finding his form back at the top level, alongside a meta that seems to be moving and shifting directly into DWG KIA's favor, not just Canyon, but ShowMaker as well, makes them a formidable force. Of course, they got that done against G2 yesterday. Today, their opponents are the LPL champions in JDG.
Yeah, LPL #1 seed, 1-0 in the groups already. Not the most consistent team,
true,
but definitely a team with a very high peak. They had so many best-of-3 series go 2-1. They had so many best-of-5 series go all the way to the 5th game. So definitely an extremely powerful team, but you never really know what if they're going to roll a 3, a 6, or a 9.
What I think is impressive about JDG is the way in which they find ways back into games, because as an organization and as a team, this roster has only found success this year. They constantly win, but whenever you talk to analysts, they're like, yeah, you don't really believe that they're going to win up until they actually do. And yesterday we got to see an example of that. Even though EG was in control, look at how they controlled the vision around the mid lane, and then they found this brief opportunity to find a really effective engage, but EG was just not expecting at all. And this is JDG in a nutshell. Shaky early games, inconsistencies in what you kind of see, but this is the constant, their control of the vision and their ability to find picks and plays across the map to come back into games.
I love that, though. Like a lack of cleanliness, inconsistency, and then the enemy nexus falls. You know, it's
keep
so
winning.
interesting how they do it, but that kind of speaks to what you were talking about, Jad, all year long in their home region. You know, 2-1 series, not clean best of fives, and so you would expect a similar thing to happen here on the world stage. Of course, best of ones is where that can be more dangerous. You don't get all 3 games to prove you're the better team in a 2-1 situation, so you got to get it done first time out here against Damwon KIA if you want to lock up 1 seed out of the group.
And one thing I hope we don't see is Sejuani versus Maokai in the top lane, because I really, really want to see Nuguri and 369 just flip a top lane matchup. I mean, 369 coming into Worlds, perceived by many to be the best top laner in the world. Nuguri, former world champion, had a bad year last year on FPX, was actually not even the starter for much of the summer split, but when he has arrived at the end of the summer split for that regional qualifier, they looked a lot better, and you know he still has it in him.
I cannot wait to see how 369 levels up through the tournament. That interview yesterday where Shox asked him to rate himself on that scale, he goes 9 with room for improvement. I'm like, that's the top of the scale.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you
already maxed
But you
out
say
the
that there's a
scale.
10 there, and we just haven't seen 3610?
3610. He's renaming for next year. Let's see if he can get it done against Nuguri as we head back over to Chronicler Lyric and Atlas for the call, our final game of the day.
Thank you so much, Dash. And this is, of course, Atlas, and Atlas, based on the hairstyles.
Yep.
That's what we're going for here, to make sure that the camaraderie will survive this matchup here. Because based on the results today, Damwon KIA kind of feeling like our last hope. And yeah, JD Gaming are pretty powerful just in general. You heard it from the desk. But we've also been seeing it this year, and they do it in an eclectic way. But that's sort of...
I love it.
Damwon's way too.
I think the desk nailed it perfectly. JDG is always, if you're an adrenaline junkie, you will love JDG because you never know how they're gonna win, but they somehow end up getting
Is that
there at the end.
adrenaline junkie or anxiety junkie? Like, I imagine that like Emily Rant really likes this team, right? Like as a KT fan. But immediately we are going to get LeBlanc banned away. And into the draft here, JDG, what's the answer going to be? We're hoping Yumi's banned.
Yes.
Something like Caitlyn's band, right? Yeah, Nidalee.
Oh!
Yeah, Inspired debuted this, and I imagine Canyon's probably been playing a lot of it. He's got a skin on this particular champion, and has been very, very good. I don't really
buy it?
No,
I don't buy it.
Coming into today's matchup, we were talking about it, right? The desk highlighted the top lane matchup, which I think is incredibly hype, but the jungle matchup as well. Kanavi versus Canyon. I'm incredibly excited to see how this one's going to pan out. Kanavi especially has been leaning on some of these carry junglers as well, but the fact that JDG showing respect to things like the Nidalee is quite impressive.
Yeah, the Jack's going to be banned away here as well, and I think that was to try and get an opportunity to have a pretty comfortable Aatrox first pick. That's going to be denied. Also, the bottom lane wide open right now. We know that Damwon doesn't necessarily like playing through that one, and of course, JD likes sticking towards that top side a bit as well. But I've seen some pretty phenomenal plays out of Hope. So this might give some options here as far as this bottom lane pull, especially a certain cat that does reside on a certain book the majority of the time. Oh dear.
I think it's happening. And if there's no B1 Aatrox available, you might as well go B1 Yuumi. That is what we have been seeing a lot if it is open. Oh,
all right, thank goodness.
Thank you.
Caitlyn is up. We'll have a look to see whether her presence is going to continue to be extremely high.
I'm also really curious about things like the Maokai. That's something that I don't really expect Kanavi to play. I'm interested to see if Damwon KIA are able to pick that one up. Graves as well. You think back to 2020 when Damwon was able to win Worlds and JDG was a standout. Both Canyon and Kanavi were such superb Graves players. But we've had the memes all day about just pick Maokai if you want to win. And once again, people gonna listen to James Dash Patterson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we might have a tank matchup in the top side of the map. The Graves, as you pointed out, does seem to be an option here. We can, of course, still see the Maokai being flexed. And if you haven't seen Canyon or Year, barring maybe a specific clip where he kicks a Sivir, you might be thinking, it's good old Canyon. But this is a player that actually has struggled a lot domestically and didn't really look like himself for the larger part of the year, not coming back up until a later stage as... I'm not going to talk about it because I would. It's too much pain.
I don't expect it to be locked in, but just giving the nod to the Canyon Karthus, I think is fantastic here for Kanavi.
The one thing is that normally you might see Ken, you might think carry junglers, especially in this current meta, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up being the Maokai for him specifically.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was ShowMaker. I'm expecting Maokai to be the enter flex here, but probably not going to be the case. Yeah, no Nidalee option to go towards. It's all right, Lilia still exists. You can go towards that one. Kanavi already showed us that the Karthus could come through. There is Varus being picked up, and I find this absolutely hilarious. The fact that DWG KIA debut on the world stage, and they play both of Ghost's champions. deokdam has been playing a heck of a lot of Aphelios, of course, known for that one in the past, and it is going to be Varus and Renata being considered for now and will be locked away. This is a lot of control of that bottom lane, but Renata not necessarily as powerful as she was a few patches ago.
Especially considering that you are picking both of your bot lane champions in blind. I kind of do like the Varus against what JDG have picked up because you at least have the potential to play from the range with your Q. When JDG have already set up to want to play kind of the range game with Damwon locking in that Maokai. But now JDG maybe wanting to change gears, and they do hope actually going towards the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, and I think JDG also feels a little bit cornered in here, because if you don't pick up a bot laner, then DWG KIA will get to spend 2 bans and secure a very comfortable bot lane for deokdam and Kellin, who haven't really been the power, the strong bot lane, and I think a lot of people were coming or expecting coming into the year. Of course, Ghost and Barrel were very good at respectively soaking and engaging, and it wasn't until playoffs, this is a recurring theme for Damwon, that they really started to find their mark. As JDG, they don't trust that Maokai, they don't know where it's going to go, and Nuguri had such a good game on the Camille that the ban makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think especially for JDG, when I feel like they are going to be looking to opt into a tank topside. You have a Grave, like, you already have Graves, Kai'Sa, and Azir. We know 369 going to want to look to be that front line, so if you're going to end up on something, whether it's an Ornn, if you're going to dig deep and pull like a Scion or a Gragas or something else, I like taking Nuguri off of some of these matchups that they can punish.
Yeah, and, you know, Trundle, Ornn, things like this, still available at this point in time. That tank route that you talk about is still something that can be attacked and augmented with that Trundle pick potentially. We'll see whether it is going to be locked away. Gragas being banned is a beautiful nod to one of 369's champions of the past as well. And the Gangplank going to be taken away here from Nuguri. So probably his 2 most noteworthy champions to be banned away, but does leave a lot of things open for both Canyon and ShowMaker, depending on where this Maokai is going to go.
Yeah, now I'm really wondering if JG wants to R4 an Ornn.
Yep.
Because with both the Camille and the Gangplank, that's kind of what you're signaling towards. It would create both the opportunity for Kai'Sa to dive in deep if you do find a backline knockup, or it creates a nice front to back that you can use to find a lot of power with either your Graves or with your Azir.
Yeah, and also just incredible into both Varus and the Renata in my mind. Both of their like CCs pretty close range. And for JDG as well, knowing missing, wanting to opt into something like this, it feels like anything's going to be a little bit rough into Renata, who loves when champions jump into her. But for JDG, really just lacking out on that engage.
And I love the trap that JDG have set up now, because as DWG KIA, are you gonna count on them picking Ornn, especially 369, who I think with a counter pick is incredibly dangerous, or are you gonna take a risk and blind pick something where you might get punished really hard if it doesn't end up working out?
Yeah, this is, I think, a really tough one for the side of DK, or if Canyon would be willing to pull a bit of an interesting champion out in jungle. I've seen some people like bringing back Kindred into Graves and solo queue, or if they wanted to go any type of route like that, but no, we're gonna get ShowMaker on the Taliyah.
Oh, are we? Because, of course, Canyon and ShowMaker have been flexing that one around a lot. Of course, Taliyah in the mid lane definitely has been pretty popular, often an answer to Sylas and things like that, something else that was up and available. They do take magic damage again. It is going to be a difficult situation as Nuguri, this was the champion that he played in playoffs. He was fantastic at it. Didn't actually have very many games. But Renekton, not exactly the crocodile that he used to be.
Hear me out. There's a triple flex here.
Yes.
Because you can pick Renekton mid. You can pick... Wait, they don't know who's going where. We've seen ShowMaker literally pick up the Renekton mid. They can go, depending on matchup, either for Taliyah jungle with Renekton mid lane, and if they like the matchup, then you can flex around. The Ornn is picked up here.
So the only thing that we know is that Taliyah's not going top lane.
Yes.
That's it. And there's Varus, Renata.
And we have a bot lane. We have bot lane champions.
Yeah. So let's see exactly where this goes. No surprise that the Ornn was locked in here, and of course JDG, formidable composition, engage from basically everywhere outside of the jungle, so the setup for Kanavi going to be absolutely fantastic. And as it turns out, it will be sort of the standard option here as far as where the champions are allocated, or at least that's what it looks like for the time being, as we are going to tick down to the time where they have to confirm the lock-ins, and there they are.
And I think, you know, regardless of where the champions end up going, one like takeaway you could have is that Damwon need to get ahead in the early game. Like, Damwon have this composition that has a lot of burst, has very strong laning phases, wants to snowball and get ahead. You already hit on for JDG that it's a lot more well-rounded. The scaling, of course, is there. The ornament's going to come online later. So Damwon going to have to push the pace in this one to find a lead over LPL's #1 seed.
Yeah, there's just not going to be a whole lot of damage if big advantages aren't found in the early stage of this game. We saw this happen to EG in the match earlier on. This is going to be a very, very difficult one for Damwon KIA, I think. I think JDG, fantastic drafting just in general. So many options they can play so aggressively and so much late game insurance. But Damwon KIA have been our most successful team thus far here at the World Championship. Looking good yesterday, and we'll see whether they can continue it here today. You can't count them out even when things look dire, as here we are on to the Rift for the final game of the day.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
We're beelining towards the bot lane here.
Yep, oh dear. Is deokdam going to check it? I hope not.
JDG were able to find successful level 1 yesterday up against EG. So it seems like that, I mean, knowing again, best of ones, this is a great way to find these advantages and try to pull ahead into wins. But sadly, well, sadly for JDG, maybe not sadly for you guys, DK not gonna fall for it. But again, interestingly enough, you look back to 2020 when Damwon did win Worlds, they were seeded into Group B with JDG. I mean, both things being repeated here.
That's true.
I appreciate you. We need some support after we're 0-2 on the day.
Yeah, and also don't apologize for siding with JDG because we kind of outnumber you as far as,
You do.
regionally here on this desk at this time.
I've already said LPL always sacrifices teams at Worlds. Like, we can sacrifice the others. JDG, though, are the one that I cannot sacrifice.
Yeah, no, you want to keep
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in
Better
fact, you probably
closest
want
to
to
your
keep
heart.
all of them.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. I like how EDG also had just like an absolutely phenomenal game last time around, but they're not going to be the ones, as we are going to see a little bit of biffo here towards the bottom side. deokdam and Kellin trying to get a bit on their side. ShowMaker pushing in here in the mid lane. So early game, we're looking at Damwon KIA, so much onus on them to make things happen. Of course, Canyon can get ganks done in the early stages, but I think even if they do manage to get a few ganks to work, if Kanavi just hoovers up the jungle and JDG manage to eventually stabilize like they're known to do, it's going to be a real tough one for Damwon KIA.
Yeah, the key thing here for me is how many jungle objectives Damwon can stack. Because I do think that, barring the mid lane specifically, they should be able to not necessarily punish. I don't think Ornn into Renekton is a matchup that is unplayable for the Ornn. You need to respect, but generally you'll get through the laning phase very, very nicely. Even saw it counter-picked at times when Renekton was a really high priority pick. But when it comes to the first couple of objectives, Damwon needs to get basically a Drake or two, and a Herald is, Canyon and Kanavi gonna meet?
Yeah, I think Kanavi was just spotted after he quick drawed over that wall. And Canyon also, vision going to be available on the Maokai, who has his pajamas at the ready. Going to clear out that ward as Kanavi scoops his way over. ShowMaker able to get himself out of the way. A little bit early there for Yagao, I think. ShowMaker gets himself out, no flash required.
And what we see there as well is an adaptation from Canyon. Didn't go for the pot as, Kanavi.
Canyon lying in wait. The
this is so
stealthiest
smart.
tree.
Just gonna let him walk by. I mean, if he like stayed or started walking towards bot side, you look at Damwon's bot lane, they're the ones pushing, so would be able to punish.
Yeah, gets around the corner. Yagao with the first roam from this mid lane. Threaded volley comes through here from ShowMaker just to try and frustrate him as Canyon with one of the boughs of the tree. Going to take down the shellfish here on the bottom side of the map. Now just going to transition up, see whether he can grab two of them for the price of one.
Yeah, Canyon making sure that ShowMaker can get in the back here. ShowMaker, of course, kind of under pressure after the early movement from Kanavi. And Canyon just making sure that his mid laner can safely make his way back to the base. Second crab Gonna get picked up. Kellin, of course, did spend a bit of time as a little bit of a cheer for the crab.
I think it's better than ward kills, to be perfectly honest.
I
think
don't.
cheering for crab kills,
You don't?
absolutely fine. Huge fan.
Look, because cheering for wards is just so...
It's iconic.
It's
pretty iconic.
and it's just chaos. It's just like pure joy. Crabs, I mean, crabs are actually in game pretty cool. We saw, you know, NA loving to go for that one for years and getting memed, but
So you don't like it because crabs actually have value, but wards don't.
exactly. Well, I mean, I guess wards do have.
Well, I
value,
mean, they have a
but
ton of value, but in the immediate context of the game.
yes.
Yes. Okay, well, I didn't know that about you.
Well, Canyon
Canyon.
is... oh, did he just stop that back? He died. Wow, okay, but deokdam and Kellin also moving up the river. Can they get more? There's the flat twisted advance. Still going to follow you, Kanavi, unfortunately. Quick draw going to be up, but there's another flash here. There's the 1, 2, 3, and deokdam gets first blood.
It's the flash twisted advance outplay. Can't get away from that one. Point and click. No problem for Canyon, but the real kicker of the play, of course, the cancel of the back.
Yeah, just great coming out from Canyon. Kanavi spending so much time in bot side river, despite the fact that the DK bot lane has had prio pretty much the whole time. It was also one of the only moments where it looked like ShowMaker also did have prio in mid. And we're gonna see here, Canyon is able to force him out with the sapling, and then I love it.
And read him like a book there as well. Just knew that he was going to start channeling the back immediately and already has the bottom lane rotating up.
Great junglers, think alike, Canyon knowing exactly what he'll go for. And then, I mean, Kanavi not flashing instantly, just that like little bit of distance Canyon's able to follow through, and then deokdam, great flash over the wall to finish it off, and get this Varus off to a strong start.
Well, great start here so far, but we already said this before, right? If you're a Damwon KIA fan, don't get too excited just yet, because they're going to need to find even more advantages than just this.
Yeah, there needs to be a sizable lead for Damwon, not just in terms of kills, but they need to actually turn these kills into objectives. Early Infernal Drake, incredibly high value for obvious reasons, but an early Mountain, even an early Cloud, I think, can have quite a big impact as Kellin is going to walk it off. And I've seen Damwon KIA get 10k gold leads and not be able to close out a game this year.
Yeah, I also remember a game like that. Kellin's gonna have to flash here.
But look at
Underneath the
ShowMaker.
turret, yeah, Canyon also rotating over. Is the Weaver's Wall up and available? It absolutely is.
4 people.
In he goes. There is going to be a fantastic Bramble Smash to get missing out of position, but Yagao. Empress Divine missing also. Flashing himself out of the way. deokdam gets 1 kill, but that is not going to be enough to even out this play. JDG moving to the kill lead.
Yagao with the huge Empress Divide, matches the roam timing, scoops up 3, and Hope the big benefactor of the play.
And that was such a good read from JDG, because with the Taliyah ultimate, I think Damwon KIA thought that they had more time, that they could get the kill on Missing and or Hope before the actual collapse would come through. But as we can see here, look at that. Both Kanavi and Yagao are already in position, and Rell this early on, especially with Kellin not having any damage and deokdam not being a part of this play, as that scoop comes in, there isn't enough damage.
Yeah, just so clean in as well, like with the angle that Yagao came from, just completely separating the Varus from being able to put out any DPS, or maybe they could have tried to find a little bit more on the JDGs from the JDG side.
Yeah, and it was even worse than that. deokdam just straight up wasn't there. So we were talking about lack of damage, right?
Yeah.
Like in the early game, deokdam has a lot of damage, but he needs to actually be present in order to achieve that damage. So not actually able to get enough to lock down the kill onto Missing. He did eventually go down, but honestly, man, what an amazing opening play here for Yagao on this Azir, and that has really brought JDG right back into contention. Damwon KIA still going to have some control of the map and are going to be able to take this first Rift Herald. See whether that can get them some semblance of control.
I think overall nice by DK knowing that they have control of this top side. Nuguri has just been pushing in. We can see 20 CS lead up there for himself, so hopefully can use this. I think ideally you'd want to use it in the mid lane since you are going up against the Azir. And heck, it actually looks like he might look for a punish with Yagao not having the flash.
Ooh, and if JDG actually pick up this early Drake, which right now is looking like they are, I think that's a colossal win for them. Because if you look at their composition overall, even disregarding JDG's tendency to find angles in mid to late game team fights, getting an early Drake can buy you so much time down the line when you look for an additional item spike, when you want to hit those later levels, just by the virtue of Damwon not getting soul as Kanavi shows bot side.
End of the line going to come through. Does a little bit of damage there to deokdam, but otherwise not going to find too much. As here towards the top side, we're going to check in on the Ornn versus Renekton matchup. Riveting one, in my experience.
Yes.
It's not necessarily so far, like you said, 20 CS advantage. That's the notable part, but it's just going to be pretty much a wet noodle fight. As 369 just going to be weathering the storm until he straight up outscales Nuguri and gives his friends a whole bunch of really cool toys that are worth a heck of a lot of money. And it's very, very cool. Missing, going to have to crash his way down out of this lane. Canyon moving in, as we're going to see some more fighting here in the top lane.
Yeah, that's, I think, the ultimate from deokdam being gone is quite big as 369.
Yeah, Call of Forge God does come through. Oh, Big going to come in as well as 369 decides he's ran out of buttons. Doesn't need to worry about that. Magnet Storm here towards the bottom side. All right, Kellin going to get bailed. Oh, there it is, but it's not enough. As Hope is going to punish him immediately. 1-for-1 here in the bottom lane as Yagao once again on the roam. Support his bottom lane.
That was actually a TP coming out from Yagao, so ends up being a 1-for-1, but the fact that DK are able to pull that summoner, pretty good for them. ShowMaker still having the Weaver's Wall as well, so if DK can get into a position where they can set up a play on the spot lane, you now potentially have a world where Yagao isn't able to follow.
And we have seen games for Damwon KIA where deokdam can 1v9 as an AD carry, but usually they're on a Phalios.
Yeah.
And I think as Varus, having the Renata still gives you a lot of leeway, but still a single misposition when you don't have flash, Yagao scoops you and you're in deep trouble.
And we also have to remember that this is, you know, Kellin's Renata as well. Definitely the best champion of the playoffs, but this was pretty fantastic engage, and Kellin got extremely lucky to be bailed out right at the last second there. And Hope just going to be able to lock him down. So 1 point in.
Yeah, but now we're going to come back onto the map. And, you know, we've been hitting a lot on the spot lane because 3-0 and Varus, deokdam huge right now, but Nuguri as well, able to finish his Gore Drinker already. So we're starting to get to the point at this 1 item mark, now even Immortal Shield Bow picked up, where DK are going to be on their power spikes and looking to force a lot of these skirmishes. We already hit on now, no TP for Yagao on one side. We still have Weaver's Wall up on top of things like the Ghost. And you can see right now on the mini-map, DK all grouping up around the mid lane.
Well, Yagao could be in a little bit of trouble. Shelly going to pop up to see whether she can collect some plates. Now Kanavi going to get his hand shook. That is not the one that he wants, not the greeting he was looking for anyway. As Shelly is going to be able to get on in there. I believe it was just Canyon that picked up the plate gold, but it's Maokai, the best champion in the universe. And he is going to be able to make good use of it. Now, 2 minutes on this Drake. This bottom side river, not exactly the most valuable, but getting control of movement towards that bottom lane is what Damwon KIA are looking for.
And with the mountain being the next Drake as well, ShowMaker.
Yeah, Emperor's Divide going to come in here as ShowMaker is going to put down some rocks and should be able to dissuade Yagao from chasing after him. And that's exactly what's going to happen.
I thought that was going to be more exciting.
He pressed Ghost.
But it wasn't. Well, he did, yeah, but he was spelled it, so...
Yeah. On the minimap, it did look like Kanavi was starting to make his way up, and, you know, maybe then he could find it. But yeah, it seems like pulling the trigger just a little bit too early, but still a lot of action coming out so far in the side lanes. With Dragon coming up in a minute.
Oh.
369, what are you doing?
Yeah, he's going to find it again here as Call of Forge God comes through. Great knock up, Nuguri going to throw it, but he gets hit by the turret and has to flash his way out. Slice and Dice going to be up there, but getting the summoner spell as the Ornn at this stage of the matchup is certainly very good work for 369.
That's super, super big because, yes, 369 uses ultimate, but they were next to without Flash and Dominus. In the upcoming fight, if JDG do choose to contest, way less scary.
I mean, especially if Nuguri did opt in just going for a reset and then either being in a position where he has to lose his wave or like maybe you TP back and you can't go to the fight. 369 finding that was huge, and a lot of that coming down to just a slight overstep of Nuguri taking that turret shot. I think he would have been fine otherwise. But still, Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. JDG have just finished sweeping out wards on the bottom side, so right now they do have some pretty nice control.
And looking at the item spikes, Damwon KIA has a composition that ideally is an elite. ShowMaker just not finishes his Liandry's, which is very, very big. Also, I'm pretty sure Canyon's going to go for Demonic Embrace based on what we're seeing right now. But overall, JDG is barely behind, thanks to Umbroglaive being a very cheap item, a lot of kills being available for Hope. And as I say that, it looks like JDG's like, no, we can give up the one Drake, and especially with the early Thrill they picked up, I think they're fine.
The one game buffer definitely very, very important here, as we are going to get another Hextech Soul. That is another really big one. This, if Damwon KIA are able to keep control, this is one of those Drakes that can allow you to make up for a comp deficit as far as the late game, but they still have to be able to take all of these Drakes. And as we said before, there is that buffer here for JDG. Could come back to bite Damwon KIA. Speaking of biting Damwon KIA, once again, Nuguri in a bit of trouble here as he slices, dices, gets himself to relative safety. Remember, no flash available, and there's another great Emperor's Divide. The Dominus is going to be up, but 1 versus 4? No, my money ain't on Nuguri, and he is going to fall down there. Canyon offers him some little cats as Shirley up and available here, 14.5 minutes, and Damwon KIA still thinking about finding more. Voidseek comes forward there from Hope. It's going to be answered by the piercing.
Teleport!
Over the wall goes Kanavi. Flash out from deokdam. Has to heal as well. It's missing. Not going to be able to find his way in here once again. A phenomenal call of the Forge God. But it's going to be a great hold out from Kellin as well as diving on forward. Is Canyon gets himself out of the way. Health bars are so extremely low at ShowMaker. He still has the stopwatch. In goes Canyon again. The brand. What is this? This champion's busted, but not busted enough to take out JDG as Nuguri is going to turn up. There could be 6 Damwon deaths in this fight, but Kellin not going to fall, and Nuguri not going to find any prey this time.
That team fight was honestly just absolutely crazy. I'm speechless at how back and forth it was. JDG wanting to pull the trigger because they have man advantage with the TP, but Damwon KIA fighting back and actually even gonna end up ahead with this turret coming out from it. But I just want to start off by highlighting the TP coming in. JDG really want to force this one out, but once DK blow the initial summoners and the Unraveled Earth comes out, it looks like a really hard play to force.
And then, as Hope goes in, it looks good initially, but Kellin coming through with the ultimate, able to buy so much space, and then this is where it gets crazy, because already it looks like Damwon KIA is on, then Yagao goes in, looking for a hero play again, he flashes the Twisted Advance, and then Canyon just is able to stay alive for a little bit longer because of the bailout.
And the thing is, JDG had the highest champion kills per minute in the LPL. They were our most bloody team. Even in a situation like this, we're like, hey, they can outscale, they can play to chill. They are Nuguri, not able to find the impact he hoped for.
Everyone else is nice and relatively... Sure, Canyon does a little more, but come on, Nuguri.
He took mid lane turret.
I mean, what Nuguri did was one cull the meek and died, and then the team fight happened. It's not very fair that they even put that number in there, to be honest.
Well, he tried at the end, Atlas. He was there for round 2, but no one else was.
No, exactly. He asked everyone, and they were like, we're tired. Nuguri, you're a bit late.
They all said they were going to come to the party, you know, and Nuguri shows up in his fresh clothes, and no one's there.
He's got his salt and vinegar chips. He's coming in there.
He's ready.
Nuguri, it's 3 a.m. What are you doing?
Please leave.
Yeah. Well, 369 here towards the bottom side now. Things a little bit upside down as far as the top lane matchup. 369 just really feeling like he's turned this one around, and I wouldn't hesitate to believe him. As even after the Bramble Vest comes in, that's when you really start to feel good as the Ornn in this matchup, and definitely demonstrating that he absolutely does.
I will also say, though, I mean, looking for the side of DK, right? They were able to pick up the Herald off of that. Demonic Embrace did come through, so for the side of DK, there really isn't much of a front line. You're really just all-inning on burst and the damage able to come through, which I feel like sets up even more so for them to like find picks, try and just supplement this advantage that they're hoping to find, again, at this stage in the game.
And I do think that as much as I favor the JDG composition overall in terms of execution, if you misstep against champions like Taliyah, like Maokai, and like the Renata specifically, everyone outside of Yagao actually is fairly limited in terms of range. And JDG, I think, is always going to be a team that is going to hit that kind of skill floor that you need to be this tall to ride the ride. But if they do make a mistake in the mid game, give up a shutdown on someone like Hope and give over a Baron, I think that could possibly break open the game for Damwon. And I know that the gold's even, but with the drafts the way they are, that's kind of how it feels.
Yeah, it does feel like the onus is on Damwon KIA to make the moves, but I like that you bring up the fact that if JDG do mess up with the moves that they're making, it's not necessarily going to work as smoothly as you may otherwise think, especially with absolutely zero separating these two teams here as we crest the 19-minute mark. JDG moving on over 9 seconds on this first Hextech Drake. Damwon KIA not wanting to give this one up as they throw down the Rift Herald as well to be a nuisance as they look to get control of this bottom side river. JDG staying together as a team. ShowMaker off to the side, checking all the flanks where they can. Nuguri just being frustrating as he's gonna now also move into Fog of War, try and stop JDG from being able to secure this. Damwon together now, Nuguri on the flank. JDG gonna have to pull the trigger here because Shirley's also doing some work. Canyon gonna steal this one away. And Damwon, I mean, yeah, Nuguri pressed the Dominus button, but you can just back away now. It's all gone your way.
I feel like JDG had to be way more decisive about that fight. Like you just said, on Shelly was put down. At that moment, I feel like you either force the Drake or you decide to back off and stop the push.
Especially with the tools they have. Missing, Flash, Magnet Storm available, JDG can even go for a non-committal engage. Just throw out that Ornn, because I do think that giving Damwon time with his composition can actually backfire. ShowMaker, even though he hasn't had the biggest impact, quite fed right now. Add to that Canyon with this build actually does do a lot of damage with the saplings. You might run into some issues if you are a little bit too slow on the trigger.
Exactly. I feel like Damwon's comp, even though we're kind of hitting on scaling for JDG, is like an AoE death ball, right? If all of JDG are grouped up, it's like Maokai ult, into Kellin's ult coming out, the AoE damage from Taliyah, arrows just being sprung at you from deokdam. So definitely JDG gonna have to be careful, but they're not being careful right now as Kanavi wanting to try to force something, but all of DK are here.
Oh boy!
9 getting the Hextech flank on here. Teleport to come forward from Yagao, and Damwon KIA, they are in a dicey position. All right, the tree's going to be able to flash to get himself out of the way, and that is going to be a rare miss from 369, especially this game. Damwon KIA safely out of there, but not going to find anyone on the retreat.
Still, for JDG, I mean, TP match for TP coming out from Yagao is DK now wanting to turn. I mean, both of these engages just looking so forced coming out from both sides, wanting to find some kind of avenue available when they feel like the other team has overstepped. But JDG with first turn on mid at least might get something out of this.
Yeah, we'll see, as that is going to be the flick back onto Kanavi immediately. He flashes to get himself out of the way, and once again, it's another great escape. We are just trading these back and forth. Everything's being defended.
No committal. We're only gonna make it look exciting. We're never actually gonna do anything.
They're trying to commit.
No action.
They're committing, and then when you commit and the other one runs away, I mean, it's not your fault.
They're
still committing.
Yeah, but TPing into the enemy jungle. What else could they do? And then they commit, and then you run away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a counter commit.
So nothing happens.
Yeah, but if they're committing, you're like, well, no.
I'm not feeling like that.
No. We're the ones that are committing.
369 just, dashed in, committed, and, now he's Flash and he commits away.
Committal was a mistake.
Committed the Flash, absolutely. And that was what I was going to say. And it would have been a bit on the nose, so thanks, guys. You saved me from that one. As 369 also going to escape. That is how this one works.
You still said it.
No, of course.
Do that to yourself, Atlas.
That's what I do. It's the shtick. ShowMaker will be able to take the turret, so here we go.
Still there trading on both sides.
And that's true. Never mind.
Even when we get past this Yagao, they actually might be able to find this on Canyon.
Yeah, Canyon in a bit of trouble here, taking a lot of damage. Hope without a Canyon Rain, making it work. That is the tree falling down.
And this is a problem that Canyon has had all year long, has been getting caught out in crucial positions. Looks like JDG at the very least gonna get a favorable trade, get themselves a free kill, and pick up a mid lane turret, kind of opening up the map and making it harder for Damwon to move around.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those things now. I mean, again, nearing closer to Dragon, JDG having some nice vision set up on bot side. With resets needing to come out after them pushing down bot lane turret, finding that kill and needing to start picking up items, I wouldn't be surprised if JDG want to start posturing towards mid and again, just keeping their hold over bot lane there. For the side of DK, though, it seems like they still have the tools to try to find fights if they want to. Canyon as well finally just picked up his mythic and now does have a bit of a tankiness behind him to support that weight.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yep. He has the rest of his team there as well. It's going to be a better situation And so just going to have to keep up with the diligence when it comes to understanding information that you have at your disposal and not putting yourself at risk. Okay, Weaver's Wall to come through yet again from ShowMaker. They don't manage to get 369 over that wall as the Berserk's fantastic. Kanavi's going to get pushed to his doom, missing off to the side. It's actually going to get checked here by Nuguri. 369's going to go down. It's a double kill for ShowMaker. What timing as well? There's 30 seconds on the break. But Damwon KIA have Baron in their sight.
Exactly, they can just turn on this one so easily. JDG do have some damage up, but I feel like DK are in such a good position.
They're gonna make their way over to Baron.
Yeah, looks like they're going to give this one up. I mean, there's no smite available here on JDG's side. Damwon KIA with the man advantage, couple of members available, and they don't even seem to mind about the fact that they're just leaving this Drake because they can use this Baron now to get an insurmountable map lead.
And we saw there, ShowMaker, he's the one that's been looking for the angles. Looks like this Drake gonna get given over, but Damwon KIA, they're running in.
I absolutely told a lie. They are 100% fighting for this one. Nuguri secures Soul Point, but can they actually win the fight is the question. Nuguri says no, and Canyon says, well, I guess I'll leave. The kitty cat brambles do come forward. He decides that he wants to engage, and he realizes actually just had no way out. So therefore you may as well go in.
JDG find 2 kills, but Damwon just got a Baron. They're on Soul Point. I feel like they're in such a good position. Gold might still be even, but it feels like the tools are there once these members are up to try and force. JDG can try and make something happen with man advantage, but there's really nothing they can do against this Baron.
And Canyon going in here, finding the smite, absolutely huge. The one downside, of course, is that with Kellin, as far behind as he is, with the Hextech timer, I don't think Canyon ever gets out. The fact that Nuguri also is drawing attention, nice to create space for Canyon, but also means that he will end up going down. The upside, of course, for Damwon is there is no Baron because they got Baron.
Yeah.
So even with jungler and top down, there isn't really a counter punch for JDG.
And that's what's been happening this whole time. It's been equal counter punches over and over again. Unfortunately for JDG, this time they do manage to achieve the same counter play, but there isn't sort of the counter takeaway to be taken this time. And even though the gold is extraordinarily even, I mean,
it's a lot of layers.
Yeah, there is a lot of layers. This game is an onion. We'll see whether this Rebel Baron power play is going to get above that like 250 mark, which we're seeing it sit at right now, because the gold still extraordinarily even, has been this entire time around. And with the fact that Canyon and Nuguri went down there, it does mean that that Baron power play that you were talking about not going to be available because JDG took control of the waves.
Surprisingly enough, Damwon actually going to opt into trading sides. They have deokdam pushing in the bot lane. He might be able to get this turret to find at least something for DK as JDG try to prevent it, but still JDG is having too much combat power right now, and we might be very close to another fight.
Yeah, everyone's coming on in here is all right. Kellin, can he survive? The answer is yes, but he has to use the flash, takes the blast cone to safety as well. As Canyon, if he stole the blue buff with that, I would have written a formal complaint because he's been stealing away too many things so far this game. Damwon KIA, 2.5 minutes on this Hextech Drake. So not so much to fight for, but Nuguri moving up there towards that top side, and he doesn't have a Baron, but does certainly have some damage if left alone.
And even though this is a very underwhelming Baron power play, will be a little bit better with Damwon finally getting this turret inside. But the key thing, as you pointed out, Lyric, is that that Drake was taken. And getting a Hextech Drake with a Taliyah and a Fett Varus, I think can really turn the tables in terms of how we look at these two teams fighting against one another in the later stages of the game. If Yagao and Hope are basically, or rather 369 and Miss, are forced to immediately engage no matter the situation because of the poke that comes through, and they do it into a Kellin ultimate, that can be a big problem.
I also think another thing it sets up right is an earlier Elder Drake coming through if DK are able to pick up Soul, which then will put them in a point where it's like, hey, we're not getting to this fight when JDG has an Azir on like 5 items, more Ornn items coming out, and then potentially if DK can win a fight then, it's like, cool, you have Elder, you just push on through, you can end the game. But I mean, we've seen, right, JDG are very willing to force and fight into DK, so I wonder if we get that far.
Yeah, there's a Weaver's Wall. Is going to be able to blast cone his way over it. The flick not going to connect there. He's just looking to walk this one out. All right, the Cats are going to march on down. but not going to be too much to get out of it. And in fact, the ults out of Canyon haven't necessarily done much.
But still, I mean, Kanavi's flash just came up. Let's remember the fight that DK won in mid was because Kanavi had no flash when that engage came through. JDG answered back on mid, but I think if DK can keep finding these summoners, I mean, their composition has so much CC to punish.
Like the setup here from JDG, take control of the bot side jungle, but they are going to have to look for a back. So I think for Damwon there is an opportunity here if they do want to go in. Of course, with saplings, it becomes so much harder to maintain a tight control of the jungle, and got a feeling it might all come down to this up and coming fight, because even though the timer for the Hextech Drake is only 40 seconds, if there's a little bit of slowdown, the Baron is going to come up. So whoever wins the next fight, if it's decisively enough, can also turn it into a Baron.
Yeah, and we look at summoners on both sides, right? Kellin doesn't have his, so that's a point of punishment. We just highlighted Kanavi, though, on the side of JDG. And Hope wasn't able to finish off his IE. He just backed and picked up the components for it. But still not there is Yagao.
Yeah, okay, this is going to be Hextech gating around. They're looking to try and lock down Nuguri. There's the flash forward from missing. The rest of Damwon are going to turn up. The Brambles are going to be there. Nuguri flashes, not able to escape that one. But is the same going to be true for 369? And yes, it is. Once again, the amount of evenness in this game is just comical.
It's just crazy. I really don't know what's going on. JDG trying to force their way into the bot side for Nuguri. It just happens to be the time DK are walking through.
But overall, I think it's JDG that's favored, because both deokdam and Kellin weren't able to find our ultimates.
Yeah,
4 versus 4.
He's managed to find Canyon here, missing over the wall. He could be the big one. That is a phenomenal interruption. Not able to steal that dragon away, and Canyon will be taken down. This could be the advantage that JDG need to secure that Baron.
Exactly, it's at the perfect timing. Baron just about to come up on the map.
Unless this flick happens. Handshake's pretty good, but missing has the best item in the game, as Brennan Valdez would say, in the stopwatch, and does avoid death.
Nuguri does have teleport available though, so does 369, so gotta imagine Damwon KIA or nothing here.
Teleport, 5 members alive here for JDG. The Baron going down extraordinarily quickly. They're not able to secure it. It's not going to be smoked, but still, it is there for JDG. And now 369 not able to find that one. deokdam trying to kite him out. JDG not getting the fight, but they got the Baron, and that's the main thing.
So close to actual kills, but in the end, as you're saying, JDG is the one that gets the big wins. Get the Baron, get themselves the Drake, as Kanavi throws out an ultimate.
Look, Call of the Forge God almost up for 369. I feel like this is why JDG are still posturing around.
Canyon's back.
Yeah, Canyon is going to be here, but no Chains of Corruption now for deokdam. A lot of summoner spells blown in those exchanges as well. And finally, we have an almost relevant gold gap between these two teams. It's probably made up for by the fact that there is, you know, Hex Drakes and things like this, but the Baron's certainly going to be helping JDG for now.
Yeah, there's also Ornn.
Yeah, that's true.
And generally, when one team has Ornn and the other doesn't, it doesn't make the equation easier.
It's all of those cool toys that he gives.
Yeah, and he's been giving out a lot.
Yeah, I also want to highlight as well, the IE actually finally is finished up for Hope, so he's incredibly large right now. And even though a ton of summoners were burned on both sides, look at JDG's 2 carries. Yagao and Hope still both having their flash up, so they feel, looks like they're feeling incredibly feisty to try and find some kills.
And as Hope gets stronger with this build for deokdam, it's very, very strong on the 2 and 3 spike, but it doesn't scale nearly as well as full damage into the later stages of the game. And I'm wondering if, even with a possible Lord Dominik's, if that's going to be enough for him to actually get through the front line that JDG has available. And I think Damwon KIA's comp might be on the verge of running out.
Yeah, this is the thing. We already spoke about the fact that there was sort of an expiry date, but Damwon KIA are going to try and ignore it here as the Ornn comes through from 369, then makes his way out with the Searing Charge. Canyon once again throwing an ultimate that's a little bit optimistic. JDG not going to get caught out by anything at this stage. Relatively successful defense of this inner turret at this stage, however.
That was
full
45
Baron
though.
power play, 2.6k at this point in time, the biggest so far of the game. Yagao sets up the Sun Disc in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think JDG, very smart, having Yagao push that whole time. It now opens up for JDG to take bot turret as they pulled some pressure from bot side, as DK having to answer back in mid.
And it looks like with that Drake not going the way of Damwon KIA, with JDG now picking up a almost 4,000 Baron power, Red Bull Baron power play, I don't know unless we see another misstep, right? Kanavi going too far forward, someone getting caught in a play from ShowMaker or off too far in the side. But at this point, I feel like JDG should be in a prime position to just slowly and carefully close this game out.
And this is why I said, like, being a supporter of JDG, being an adrenaline junkie, or I guess an anxiety junkie as well, because you always have a feeling they're gonna win the game. They're gonna bring you on a ride for them to get there.
Lyric, I remember earlier today, you mentioned top esports knack for finding defeat where there is only victory. How's that for JDG?
I think it's the exact opposite.
I agree.
That was in the lesson that he had before.
I feel like JDG.
Well, that was the joke!
Where it looks like they shouldn't win, and then somehow do it. Is Atlas?
I was expecting better from you, Atlas.
It was on my test. And that was my test
What
from
happened-
earlier. I
what
thought
happened
this
to
was the
high
exam.
five? We matched your hair.
Well, you guys passed your test as well.
Aw.
Thank you.
Time to see if DK can pass their test, which is surviving the onslaught of JDG. Luckily for them, a ton of wave clear coming out between both Varus and Taliyah.
Yeah, and also the fact that they don't have very much range. Chronicle, you mentioned that earlier on as well with the Kai'Sa. Siege is not necessarily something that you can do, and line wave clear is a term that we invented based on Varus, I think, because he does manage to kill them while they're conquering it.
I see the angle.
Uh-huh.
For deokdam, we go to 50 minutes. I hold that thought. That game might end very, very soon.
And it's taking a lot of damage. Yagao is just huge at this point in time. Okay, ulti comes through, and in goes Hope, but twisted advance. He is going to be there. He has to flash immediately, and ShowMaker just says no. It is available. All right.
What is
this? I thought the 369 had the coolest escape.
Hope. It almost looked like he threw it away, but the Hex
Wait.
coming in clutch.
But do they get Drake off of this? Do they get Soul?
I think they do.
I mean, Hope has Hextech gates. They got him out. Maybe they can get him back in.
Yeah, well, looks like he's going to try for it now as he's going to make his way out of the base.
He's gonna make it.
Yeah. This Drake is up and available. Damwon KIA are together. The Phalanx has been put up.
But look, DK, so many ults not available. They're very close, but that's why they're not able to just outright force this right now.
Yep, Kanavi on the flank here as well. Voidseeker is going to find Canyon, who's below half health. Decent defensive play here from Damwon, but that's not what they need. They need to try and find a way to stop JDG from denying this from them. All right, Searing Charge going to be there, but 369 still feeling like he needs to invest the flash. Ulti not going to find any joy at all here for Canyon. And there goes 369 now. The Flick's fantastic. Another Searing Charge going to be there, but he's denied by Lost on that kill as well. The Rell's going to be taken, and Nuguri still up and alive. They dive forward. Oh my god, the AoE is just absurd. And there is no hope for Damwon KIA.
JDG pulling it back after DK were able to find a couple kills for themselves. They have a wave in bot side. They're going to look for the push.
And what a banger to end the day. In the end, it comes down to a smite 50-50. A fight that first looks on for JDG, then for Damwon, and then JDG again.
This is definitely the best game we've had so far today. Back and forth does not do this justice whatsoever. And JDG, the LPL first seed, prove exactly why as they destroy Damwon KIA's Nexus. What an extraordinary performance here from this team.
Honestly, both teams, like LCK versus LPL, always finding a way to deliver. We said it a few times on cast that these guys have matched up before at Worlds. JDG able to pull ahead today and doing it, it feels like the way they always do. Outplays in team fight, just extraordinary. I don't even know how to put it, Chronicler. So many moments, like we said, back and forth. It's the smallest of details deciding this game.
The commitment and counter-commitment, I think, is what's happening here. And the denial of a team being able to do what they want to do. That's what was happening this whole time. Everyone had the answer for all of the options that were being thrown out. And it was just a beautiful display of League of Legends here in this game.
It really was, I think, the ebb and flow that made this game so exciting, where even though Damwon, as they've done many times in the past, fought beyond what looked like the expiration dates of their composition, still finding angles, still finding moments, But then that escape from Hope, the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, he ended the game deathless on Kai'Sa. In a back and forth like that, I think super impressive. Because if he dies there, I think Dom will win the game. Like, if he doesn't hextech away, they get, at the very least, the soul, and then they might be able to push for the end.
I gotta say again, just him ulting in straight to the Maokai, all of DK being there, it should have been over. Rift coming in so clutch.
Yeah, it was just, I just couldn't believe how extraordinarily close it was. And we iterated before that it was a game where JDG outscales or something. I just don't think that that's a conversation even worth having if you're going to have this level of answer and the mastery of the composition as well on both sides of this match.
So it is 11 p.m. here, and I would be happy for 4 more games to be played right now.
I was about to say, like, we're going to get to game 2, right?
Yeah,
This is LPL and LCK, right? Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, well, we're going to stick around, and if there are more games happening, hopefully they're going to let us cast them. As, man, Hope, like, he was the quiet achiever in this game, because honestly, so much of this, we were yelling about 369 making great escapes, Yagao having all of these extraordinary Emperor's Divides, but slowly but surely, Hope just picking up all of these kills and doing so much consistent damage, then having that amazing escape in the end, and then killing the entirety of Damwon KIA.
And I'm actually very impressed, because I was kind of afraid for Hope in this meta, where it seems like there are more like playmaking AD carries coming in, because Hope's positioning in teamfights has always been superb. And when you have other members giving him the space, even if it's not a champion like Kai'Sa, which I don't really associate with Hope, he's able to take full advantage.
And when we talk about killer instincts, we also got to talk about what Yagao did, because he found a couple of incredibly high value early and late ultimates. And if he doesn't get that early play where they keep the game even against Damwon KIA, I think there's a good chance that they do get the snowball that they're looking for. That didn't end up working out, and as a result, I mean, the game was still incredible, so I'm pretty happy.
Do you know what the most difficult thing about this game is trying to pick the OP player of the game. Like, who gets that? Is it Hope, the quiet achiever, that manages to win the last team fight that was the most decisive in the game? Or is it Yagao for finding these extraordinary Emperor's Divides throughout? Like, man, I just want more games like this. And I love Worlds. It's just all so good. But if you can't make it to San Francisco for the World Final, you can catch the conclusion to a year of competition on the big screen at select theaters near you. Use that QR code below to grab your ticket. And you definitely want to do that, especially if one of these two teams are there. But also if any of the other phenomenally performing teams so far today. I mean, we had the EU 3-0, and then we had this extraordinary game at the end. What's to expect for the rest of the game? It's 2 days in, guys.
This game was so good that it almost made me forget that we went 0-3 today. That's how incredible it was. Until I reminded myself. No, but from start to finish, that was one of my favorite games tournaments. Simply incredible.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me, though, Chronicler. I really appreciate it.
Hey, that's actually Atlas number 2.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Atlas number 2. Well, are you on number 2? Never mind. While we sort that out, we're joining Shox and Kanavi alongside our translator, Wendy, for the Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you very much. What an unbelievable game. And I've got Kanavi here with me to talk about it. And of course, the first thing I want to ask is about that last deciding team fight. Talk to me from your perspective about the difficulties in that team fight and how you guys managed to win it after all.
首先，恭喜你们获得了这场比赛的胜利。第一个问题要问到的是，最后的那一波团战，决定性的团战，当时可能比较难处理的点是什么？你们当时又是怎么去应对的呢？
其实团战的话，大势有益吧，所以我感觉我们也觉得有点烦，但是我们就觉得开起来就能赢，就我们辅助跟上路是坦克吧，所以跟他们说你们随便卖就行了，我们会收割。
To be honest, around there, we feel the opponent's drop can be a bit troublesome in the team fights, but our top laner and also for the support, we have 2 tank champions. So we just told them, you can just throw yourself into the team fights to be the front lane, and after that, we'll easily get the win for the team fight.
Oh yeah, Hope was also fantastic in that. Now, when it comes to the World Championship, you are back after 2020. How do you feel you have evolved as a jungler since then?
从20年参加世界赛，然后到现在重新来到世界赛的舞台，你觉得你自己的成长和变化是什么呢？
我的成长的话，因为中文实力变强，然后跟队友沟通也好， 然后跟队友配合好吧。
So in these 2 years, definitely my Chinese proficiency improved a lot, and also we were able to have a very good communication with all the teammates, and we were able to have a very good synergy as a whole.
Yes, incredibly impressive, I have to say. Of course, famously, you decided to stay in the LPL after being on loan from Griffin. How important is it for you to put up a great performance for all of the LPL here at Worlds?
那其实从格里芬出道以来，其实Kanavi 选手也是选择一直在 LPL 嘛。那所以说，你觉得在这种国际大赛的舞台上展现 LPL 的风采，对你来讲意味着什么？
其实我现在打 LPL 吧，然后我是现在来到这个世界赛，其实有点紧张，而且压力也很大，但是会表现出来很好吧。
So coming here representing LPL in this Worlds tournament, definitely I feel a bit nervous and I have a huge pressure on my shoulder. But definitely I'm going to try my best to have a very good performance to show to all of you.
Absolutely. And finally, today was not the best day for the LCK. They actually went 0-3, whilst the LPL went 3-0. What do you think about these results today?
那其实纵观今天的赛果 ，LCK 是0-3未能获胜 ，LPL 我们是3-0，3场全胜。所以说有什么样的一个感受？
其实今天的话，等于就是 LPL 的 party 吧，都 LPL 的观众都很开心。
So it's definitely the party of LPL today.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you also, Wendy, for the wonderful translation. All day, party in the LPL. That's what we love to hear. I guess fantastic performance by them today. And we are heading over to Worlds Cooldown.
Thank you so much, Shocks. What a treat of a game that sixth and final game was. It was JDG that comes out on top, but both of our teams showed up. This just felt like two heavyweights that were just trading blows back and forth, man. It just felt good to watch.
Dude, I loved how close this game was. Yeah. And Alice said it was like hilariously close. Like, yeah, both top laners die and the Dragons are still equal and they're just going to fight at Baron again. And just how willing both teams were to fight the entire game and how close each successive fight was. Just a joy to watch.
It was a pleasure. This is what we love Worlds for, right? That international competition, especially when you have LPL versus the LCK. And it's one of the things as well where we have to remove seeds because, sure, while it is the third seed from the LCK versus the first seed from the LPL, it just doesn't matter. A lot of time has passed. These teams have changed a lot. And I think we got to see a lot of what makes both of these teams great. Smart map movements, great approach to the early game from Damwon. But the mid game from JDG, the way they control vision, the individual playmakers, the positioning in team fights, it was truly an incredible back and forth between two of the best teams.
And honestly, thank you for saying we should remove seeds. Like, seeding is important to get teams into the tournament. But once they're here, throw all of that out because it's really about how the teams adapt day to day. And in best of ones, as we know, anything can happen. You already said it. The teams were trading blows back and forth, but there were plenty of individual big brain moments as well. And we didn't have to wait very long to get one of them. This is nuts.
This was so cool.
Catching out Kanavi with the sapling in the brush says, you know what?
He's probably over there.
Fishy's going on because I've got that crab in the river. I haven't seen Graves. See, the crab dies right then, but I haven't seen Graves walk through this crab, so he must be basing over the wall. And then, because of the push that the two laners have, mid and bot, able to chase him down. Flash Maokai follow, early kill given over to Damwon.
Alternative pitch. Canyon has X-ray vision and can just see through walls. That seems like a more plausible explanation to me.
I would say they're equally plausible.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? And we can't prove we can't prove that it was one or the other. So I'll leave it up to you at home to decide. But that was just the beginning because, as we said, this was letting two boxers loose in the ring, basically saying, "All right, you know, fight fair, sure, fight within the rules of the game, but just keep going at it. We're not going to ring the bell."
I have my little droid pad, so I have to take advantage of it.
I love Vedius and his draw.
Yeah, so let's look at this first team fight that was incredibly close because it starts off with an engage from JDG with the TP flank coming in from behind and the collapse into this choke point. But you're going to see this line drawn in the sand right here for Damwon and how they use this to turn it around because the ultimate from Kellin is going to come out here, force them into this narrow choke point, which gives Damwon a great opportunity to come out ahead in the fight. in this initial, getting the first pick, and then the disengage, leveraging the tower as well to play on the backside, but then the re-engage from JDG. Yagao goes in, and just look at the health bars. It is so incredibly close throughout. It ends up being a 3-for-3. Nuguri then rejoins the fight at the end.
So funny.
And then it comes to the next team fight later on.
Yeah, this final sequence was actually so crazy. So first off, you have Hope making the escape over the wall, and it's Hextech Drake is up. The Soul is alive. So now it's all about like how quickly can they get over here. They can get there pretty quickly. And what's interesting here is we know JDG is stronger than teamfights. So they actually make a conscious choice to zone Damwon out from this dragon as 369 goes in, essentially kind of giving up his life in this fight. And a lot of teams say, okay, we denied the Soul, let's reset for later. JDG is now in a 3 versus 5. And what do they think at this moment? They get a ton of damage off on the Graves, but watch the angle of Yagao flying in and Hope still having ultimate, and all 5 people disappearing as we roll this through to the end.
It's just beautiful.
Kai'Sa ult because of the knockback, not to mention Kanavi on the bot side taking all their health. It's actually a 5v3 ace in like half a second.
I don't understand as well how Kanavi lives for so long too, because he's just tanking them on the front line, but the way in which they split that fight up, almost creating a 3-pronged pincer attack onto Damwon, it was incredible to see.
I want mic checks for those 2 fights, because I want to understand who's actually making the decision that these are good fights to take, because they all are being, you know, they're all literally on a knife's edge. The idea, that first replay that you showed, the 4 members of Damwon each were at 10% or less health.
It's ridiculous.
10% or less, and they're like, yeah, let's stick around. Let's stick around. Let's play on the edge of this.
So I would imagine both teams are saying, yeah, it's a good fight.
Yeah, it's probably
because
true.
they just believe that they're going to win. That's how they got this good in the first place. They just take them so often, and that's why they're so good at winning them.
Yagao with like the 2 health Zonias there as well, setting up for the Kai'Sa ultimate. Just absolutely stellar, brilliant play out of both of these teams. Of course, only one can win, and it will be JDG. And so as we take a look at our standings, they now have sole possession of first place over there in Group B at 2-0, with Damwon KIA and G2 Esports just behind them. G2 having taken a win off of Evil Geniuses today. Fnatic sitting pretty 2-0 as well. Basically, the story of the day, if we want to break it down regionally, is 3-0 for EU and 3-0 for China. I mean, what a brilliant day for those 2 regions.
I mean, it feels great. I mean, I've got to say, to start off the day, to watch Rogue have a convincing game like they did. Sure, there were a couple moments that were a little bit shaky, but to see Odoamne, especially after last year, where he was getting demolished by Khan. He played the Graves versus Jax matchup, both sides of it, and he ends up being solo killed in both situations. It was not a great tournament for him. He wanted to prove himself on the international stage once again, and to start off like this was a great debut for him, and Rogue right behind it.
DRX had so much momentum coming in, winning first place in their playing group, but they drop in the first game pretty handily to Rogue. G2 versus EG, 6 or 7 in a row. It's actually only 1 in this tournament, but it was such a dominant game pretty much from start to finish. FLICKR shows up huge on the Aphelios, I feel like, in this game. Caps also got incredibly fed on the Sylas, and EG was just kind of running all over the map the whole game, not doing much.
Yeah, a lot of question marks, of course, still for North America, but Europe, they kind of round out with Fnatic being able to take down T1 as well, and I think that was really where a lot of question marks were coming up for Europe. Okay, sure, you can win those first 2 games, but can you really bring it to T1? And
can you beat FLICKR?
Well, yeah, can you? And it turns out that they definitely can. Humanoid is having the tournament of his life right now, and Razork, a player that I did not expect to show up, the man that I thought would be kind of usurped at the beginning of his tournament run, has only continued to prove himself here on the international stage.
And this also was kind of the beginnings of the Poppy dominance as well, right? We saw a couple Poppy games today that started to pop off, wondering how that's going to affect the jungle meta. But as EU went 3-0 today with one of those wins coming over NA, it's time for us to update Mr. JoJo here.
I'm going to update the birds.
I'm not going to be caught defacing a bald eagle. So
will you carry the birds?
It's taped to the top of the. It's taped down so that it can't fall. So you're going to have to do it. So we had G2 over EG today. So you get to add a notch to EU. Well, you're okay.
Yeah,
so that's
I'm
just
updating
doubling
that
up.
one.
Yeah, and then
so now we're at 3-3.
I believe we're at 3-3.
Wait. So the Fnatic one was already added.
I'm going to wait for official confirmation before we Sharpie a 4th on.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So when we get official confirmation, we'll add another if we need to. But I think 3-3.
It's a good thing you're about 6 feet tall. Otherwise, that would have been hard to draw.
How'd you?
That's an inside joke.
Yeah,
that a lot of people aren't gonna get.
He's 5'10", 6 feet, somewhere in that range.
Listen, we're going to move forward very swiftly. I'm not going to stay on this topic because we've got to talk about some other things.
Since when do you run the desk?
Since right now. We're going to talk about Azir because we think that this champion is probably at the beginning of the day. We talked about how we thought Maokai was going to be super strong, the flexibility of AD carries. We have to talk about Azir. The Emperor of Shurima was something that domestically across the world, many teams thought was strong. But between the regional playoffs and then Worlds, the champion was nerfed. His W got hit, his E got hit, and everyone was like, okay, he's not going to be as strong. But then the rest of the world said, well, I say Europe and China said, well, you know what? We actually think this guy is better than you might think.
Yeah, and we'll have to see as the rest of the tournament progresses if it's a chicken or the egg. Like, was it Azir that was dominating, or was it the mid laners that were playing the Azir today that were dominating? I tend to think that everything was nerfed, including Azir, and having the mid lane prio in most matchups, as well as having good scaling, has just been so incredibly important in this day of games.
You know what's going to happen? Ryze is going to come back.
No.
It's going to happen.
No,
it's going to be Azir versus Ryze again.
I'm pretty sure that champion's dead. I'm pretty sure.
I'm telling you.
Isn't he sitting at like a 40% win rate or something like that?
Yeah,
solo queue,
but that's solo queue, bro. You know it's Ryze, okay? Pro play, 100% win rate.
Oh, that was pretty.
It was, overall, I think we all agree, like, that Azir seems very strong.
Yes.
The question is, how will the adaptation come through? Because I think the expectation was you can do one of two things. You can either pick the LeBlanc/Akali into it, and while you can struggle a little bit in lane, the amount of kill threat you have at level 6 is so big that Azir then doesn't get to play the game.
Yeah.
Or you can match his scaling with something like a Victor or an Orianna, which honestly we haven't seen a huge amount of. We've seen a little bit of Victor come out here and there, which really just hasn't been as effective. So we'll see if more answers can come out from the rest of the teams, given that Azir right now seems to be the king of mid lane.
Orianna looking at you, Cloud9. Let's see. We'll see. It is also important to note that as we show those Azir statistics, those are from today. He did take 2 losses yesterday, so it's not like it's complete dominance across the board, but it's just kind of showcasing a trend for that champion and how we do think, especially as better teams get their hands on him, he's just such an insurance policy to the late game, right? You saw what Yagao could do there in the end, both as a playmaker, but also as a primary damage dealer. That's the conclusion of day number 2. We got 6 more games coming your way tomorrow. Let's take a look at what we got. We got GAM Esports and Rogue kicking off the day before 100 Thieves go up against Gen G. Edward Gaming will take on Fnatic in the 3rd game of the day before we hop on over to Cloud9 versus T1. Royal Never Give Up versus CTBC Flying Oyster, and DRX versus Top Esports to close out the day. So, man, these schedules are just incredible.
So I'm gonna say, Flying Oysters is honestly the game that I'm probably the most looking forward to.
I'm 1,000%.
Well, of course, you're the pizza oyster guy.
Yeah. Dude, world domination. I'm on this train until they get knocked out of the tournament.
They started strong against 100 Thieves, and it's one of those things where, like, okay, was that just, NA not having a great start to the tournament and then them looking good, or is this Flying Oysters being actually much better than we originally thought? Because coming into this tournament, I was like, guys, this is just Machi. Do you remember Machi from 2020 where they went 1-5? That's pretty much just what this roster is, but I was wrong. Shun and Rest with the addition of this roster, ooh, they're spicy. I'm excited. I want to see what they can do against the MSI champions of RNG.
Yeah, I love moments where Vedius is wrong. I live for those
Which did not happen today.
I live for those moments.
He was really right today.
It's a good point. I'm kind of glad we're not putting all the predictions on record, because otherwise Vedius's head would be up through the roof right now.
That's where that extra foot comes from. You know.
By the way, we did confirm it is 3-3 in EU NA, so we have properly defaced JoJo for today. We're going to shut down this arena. We're going to go home. We're going to get some rest. We hope you do the same, because we're going to be right back here tomorrow for 6 more games of action. So on behalf of myself, the casters, the entire broadcast crew, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you here tomorrow for more Worlds. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, be good to each other. Good night.
Welcome back for more group stage action here on day 2. After finally conquering the LEC, they are here to take on the world. Presenting Rogue! From Korea's LCK, please welcome DRX! Dangerous damage across first, the flash, the foe! And first blood for Cop. Welcome to the World Championship!
Guys, look up there, look up. People, Can we kill? No, I think, guys. Just
I don't have mana, I don't have mana.
Just don't do the hell. Shut up. Shut up.
Nice, guys.
You have actually fallen for the trap. I appreciate everybody. I would never do this. Let's go! EG! Jojo!
We win the win.
Kill set.
Yeah, just kill front. It's fine, bro. It's really fine. Like, we really fight them here. I'm gonna chase with you. We can chase.
More damage across Jojo's shield, and Jojo will drop. Blacken stays up, saved by his mid laner, and they're gonna get Kaori now as well. Everyone's gonna run away or die, maybe even both.
We win this. Stay together.
I keep going.
We win so hard.
I can flash the Aphelios. Look at Aphelios, guys. Aphelios stun.
Nice. I got him. Keep going, Hunter. I'm behind you.
I'm on Akali.
One in.
Let's go!
Nice.
Sven has to flash up and does manage to do so. Emperor's Divide slides in and Scout picks up his 5th of the game. Baker is the one that picks up the kill in the end. The Catfish, not exactly that tanky right now. Flash does Mako and Flandre is gifted another one. Flash there from Beer to start this one up, but the final chapter's fantastic. First blood to be picked up for Jackie Love of all people, and they're not done there. It's a double for Knight and a double for Jackie. Last-ditch effort here, and my goodness, even Mark is doing way too much damage. Knight picks up the double to start this one off. TES are going to destroy KIA Esports. Yeah. Oh!